Hey guys, Firm here, and today I'm going to be testing the Dodge Challenger SRT8 in multiplayer in Asphalt 9 for the first time at 3 stars, actually. I never did this car before at max, so here you go. But there was a reason for that. In this video are 6 sequential races in this car that I played in Silver League, and you will see why this is probably my least favorite car in the game. Now, it has a single strength. That is, its top speed is kind of okay for Class C, but the rest of this car, the nitro efficiency, the handling, the drifting, the acceleration, are all very bad. Especially the drifting, which can drop you to below 100 miles per hour, which is one of the worst that I've seen in any car in the game. I don't understand why Gameloft decided to nerf this car so much, because if you go back and watch my very first Asphalt 9 multiplayer video, it was about this car, and I said it was one of the most powerful cars for multiplayer in Asphalt 9, and it was at the time that this car came out. At the time that Asphalt 9 came out, this was really the best car that you would get early that would do really well for you in multiplayer, and I think the SCG was one of the other ones. The point is, this car used to be way better than it is now, and that's not just because a bunch of other cars have eclipsed it now, it's because it got nerfed to oblivion in almost every department. The only reason I can think that Gameloft might have done this is because this car is the lowest car in Class C, and maybe they thought it was too good to be the beginner car in a class, but the thing is, in all the other classes, the first cars haven't gotten nerfed like much at all, if at all. So the sad story of the Dodge Challenger SRT8 will likely remain a mystery. Now, we did get first place in this first race here, and I was pretty proud of that, but then again, you have to remember, it is on one of the more top speed oriented tracks in the game, the Himalayas, and that's why I pointed out in the beginning that this car's really single strength is its top speed, because really that is the only kind of track that it's going to do very well on. Even tracks like this one, Ancient Wonders, they've got long straight sections, as you can see here, but the thing is, this track has also got lots of twisty turny parts coming up as well. Like, the first half of it is pretty straight, but the second half of it is all over the place. There, I accidentally knocked that guy down with that 360. I suppose this car is kind of okay when it comes to knockdowns. I mean, I don't think cars have real armor ratings, but it does seem like to me that some cars do have better knockdown capabilities and ability to not get knocked down as much as some other cars. It's probably just my imagination, although there was an armor aspect back in Asphalt 6 that I wouldn't mind seeing come back. It would be kind of cool for cars to have like true fragility built into the game almost, where there was another thing you would have to watch out for. I know a lot of people wouldn't like that. I don't know. It might not be great. I suppose it would depend on how they would implement something like that. Perhaps in Asphalt 10, I don't know. It would just make more sense that cars that were a bit more delicate and lighter perhaps might get knocked down easier than the heavier, more tanky kind of cars. So that race was a pretty uneventful, average race for this car. We got beat by a Pininfarina and an Acura, but we did beat a DS E-Tense and a few Vipers, and I noticed that the Viper appears to be the most popular car for the most part in Silver League. Here, two people 360'd right next to me. Didn't knock me down, thankfully. This race, for some reason, just all sorts of stuff just kept happening like crazy. We knocked that guy down somehow, even though he was going faster with the 360. And now we're into 5th place, and we're having to go around this turn where you can see my speed drop to nearly 100 miles per hour. Later in this race, you will see on the Caribbean where it might go even lower than that. So we're somehow back up to 3 out of 8 position. But really, you can see that, honestly, I would say this car's biggest weakness out of all of them is probably its huge speed loss when drifting. Not even its poor nitro efficiency, which is pretty bad, but it's not even the worst in the game. I mean, ones like the TVR Griffith are going to be even worse. But at least that car doesn't lose as much speed around turns, and this one just drops like a rock. The Pininfarina knocked us down back there because we couldn't get up to good enough of a speed, and then throughout this section, I was trucking along at like 150 miles per hour the whole time, because with that poor drifting capabilities, the acceleration and the nitro not being very good either, all those together make it so this car can very rarely stay at its top speed for very long, even though it can only reach 199. Like, it doesn't even get to 200 miles per hour. You guys know how in Asphalt 8 recently they changed the classes of a bunch of cars to be based on brackets of ranks rather than how they were before? If they were to do that to Asphalt 9, which I certainly hope they don't, since I really don't like that idea. This car would definitely be close to the bottom of D-Class because, yeah, this thing is just a pain to drive. At one point I thought about making a video about that garage change in Asphalt 8, but then I realized, what am I actually going to make a video about that? Just me flipping through the garage, looking at all the cars changing that? I don't know if that would make for a very interesting video. But I still plan to make that Asphalt 8 video about the Plether, and I announced recently in a video that I will be uploading my next Asphalt 9 music video at 33,000 subscribers. I think we're currently about 500 away or so. The music is all done. I recorded the lyrics last night, I think it was. And so for the most part, all I've got left is to make the music video, which does take a good bit of time in and of itself. I mean, if you get a bunch of clips for 3.5 minutes that all have to be like 1 or 2 seconds apiece, you can see how many of those you'd have to go and find. A lot more work goes into videos like that than you might expect. But this is actually my 7th Asphalt song. It's been 3 years since my first one, and 7 is my favorite number, so I'm going to try to make this one as good as I can. So, coming up toward the end here, we actually catch up to this Viper on this ramp, I think because we went up with Shockwave. Then even though we Shockwave around the final turn to lose as little speed as possible, we weren't able to quite pass him before the end of the race, therefore we came in 2nd place. But we did beat a 3,000 plus rank Acura, who was almost twice the rank that I was, so I guess that's something. When I went to test this car, I actually originally planned to make some sort of like fail races compilation or something, but then I realized when doing these few races, there's actually some okay ones mixed in there with the bad ones. Like, even though this car most of the time is not going to do very well, as with pretty much any car in the game, if you drive it right and you get the right opponents and the right track, you can probably do okay. Like that first one there on the Himalayas, that was odd, I might say. I didn't expect that I would get that far ahead, because in all of the rest of these races, I didn't. It was painful all the way throughout it, and here we are barely keeping up with a Lotus Elise who is 24 miles per hour slower than us. Yeah, you heard that right. And now here, even though we're in 1st place, I wasn't so sure about how this race was going to turn out, because for one of the ESL seasons, I made a video with this car on one of the Caribbean tracks that had this jungle section in it just like this. Like half the track was about the same. The Hot Dog also did one of those. Maybe you guys remember it. But anyway, in that race, I remember it was always the biggest pain was this part here, where you had to drift around this turn, which would drop you below 100 miles per hour, as you can see right there. And then I think not drift around here, it would actually be faster than drifting or something. And here, I knew I wasn't going to have enough nitro to go very fast up that ramp normal barreling, so I just went up with the flat spins. That's actually something you can do in a lot of low nitro efficiency cars on barrel rolls if you're not going to have enough nitro to get up them and stay at a decent speed, or even get up to a decent speed in the air, just normal barreling. You can flat spin off of them. Same with like forced barreling off the edge of some of those ramps in Himalayas. You can 360 off the side of them, and if you're careful, you can do better that way than barrel rolling if you don't have very good nitro, and better than going off the top, which slows you down a bit more. You lose less speed when you go off the sides because you're not going up as much. Now it is time for my general review of the car. As you might be able to suspect from my perhaps a bit more than usual negative tone, I do not like this car. It is my least favorite car in the game to drive. It's got a top speed of just under 200 at 199. It doesn't even reach that point. And even with that, its top speed is the best thing about it because everything about it is complete garbage. Now, I suppose there are a couple of redeeming qualities about it, one of which is that you can make it purple, but even that is not all that special since every car in the game, except a few, can be made purple, and the ones that can't used to be able to, but they couldn't because GameLoft patched that bug where you could change the color of the car by doing the club race thing, and this is probably the car that most people used in the daily car loot to be able to get access to the 911 GTS Coupe, and from there the higher classes of cars. So just like Microsoft Edge, it's kind of a stepping stone towards something better, and in this final race we come in 2nd place. Thank you all for watching, please like the video if you have enjoyed, and consider subscribing for more Asphalt and other games content, and I will see you in my next video. Goodbye!